connection with Hilltown would be my good classmate, Father Joe Dyke, who was born and raised here in Our Lady of the Sacred Heart Parish in Dublin. And that was my first hearing of this parish. It was years ago when we entered the seminary in 1974, September of 74. I was introduced to this man, Joseph Dyke, who was from Dublin and Hilltown. So that was my first connection of ever knowing anything about the parish. Little did I know then, when we were seminarians, it's something that I had the privilege of being a pastor here. So that's my maybe connection with the parish. I met Joe years ago, and years later then, he was stationed here when we came together, and he was the resident and I was the pastor. So it's funny how God works. You meet somebody a long time ago, and then all of a sudden you're with them again as a pastor. So that'd be my unique story about the parish. I was appointed at the end of May and to report in early June, and it was Memorial Day weekend. We received our assignments on the Friday from, at that time, Cardinal Bellaracco. And I did not know where Hilltown was. I had heard of it because, as I said, of Father Dyke. I had been up here a couple times with him years ago, but I had forgotten how to get here. And the young priest who was stationed with me at the former parish I was at, he suggested we take a ride up and see it, and find it. So we did. And the funny thing was, we came to the chapel first. And we thought this chapel and the rectory there and the rooms above were the old schoolhouses and the old convent. I thought, oh my God, this is it. Like, it's a nice little country parish, just what a priest would want to be a pastor of. And when I went over to the rectory, the priest who was there at that point, Father Carbone, he said, no, Mike, you got to go up the road a bit and you'll see the rest of the complex. And that's when my eyes were open to the big church and the school and the gym and all the grounds there. And I went, oh, wow. So it was kind of like a funny first experience, thinking that this little chapel was it. And then going up to the other church, to the big church, as we call it, and the school and the gym, and then finding out this is also it. So it kind of opened my eyes and heart to a bigger challenge. So hopefully we're all taking care of that challenge in a good way. Say in my 7 years here at Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, the big change has been the place is changing. It was one time a nice little country parish, as it would be referred to, but as we drive in any direction, especially from the church or the parish, from the rectory, we do see that there's many developments going up, influx of people, increase of traffic, so the place is definitely changing. Maybe not as rapidly as other places in Bucks County, but definitely changing, and that's a challenge for us as a parish family to keep up the great love and mission, family spirit that I believe is here. Right. Well, I would hope that we would continue always to be faithful to what the Lord's command of loving one another as I have loved you, and to do the best we can to be a beacon of His, a light of His, to not just the Catholic community that lives in Hilltown, but also anybody who's in need, who lives here, that we can be a presence of Christ too. So I would hope that what I feel has been here over the years of a nice family spirit rooted in Christ, that would continue to grow, even with the challenge of becoming a bigger parish, that like simple little family spirit would always be the basis and the foundation of what we are as a parish.
And but we were the first, my mother, father, my family, the Hike family, Woodward family, I guess, and Laura's family. They were all the families down on the Hilltown Pike. We were the first members of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart Church in the little church in Hilltown. My sister and I came to the corner laying, I guess that was in probably 1919. I believe it is.
Yes, for the first church, yeah.
Well, we were here at the very first Mass when the church was built. My sister and I. My sister's name was Josephine Ward. Well, the first priest that I can remember as a child was Father Knittel.
Mm-hmm.
He was German.
Okay.
And he said, I'll never forget what he said, if I live to be 1,000. He says, don't use your head for a hat rack. He said, use your brain. God gave you a brain. Use it. Try to.
Matrimony, is that a sacrament?
Yes.
Yes, I knew that. We were married at Sacred Heart Church.
No.
I mean, when?
Yeah, rectory.
Well, Oh.
Tell us that.
I was married into the Catholic Church, but in the rectory, I wasn't Catholic at the time. And you were not permitted to be married in the church in 1948 unless you were Catholic. So we were married in Father Muldoon's living room, believe it or not. At the foot of his stairs, there's a little story there. We were standing at the foot of the stairs, waiting for the bride to come in. And we got halfway in. She was on her father's arm. And when we got to the stairs where I was standing, he wouldn't let her go. And he wouldn't let go. She couldn't. And finally, Father Muldoon said, it's too late, Carl, you gotta let go. And I don't think it was that he didn't want her to get married, but her father tended to be very emotional at family things, like a wedding. And but he finally let her go. 61 years ago.
Oh my God.
In June. Well, there have been many changes, of course. The one as a former Protestant, the one that strikes me the most is the ending of the Latin Rite Mass, going into the vernacular of the English. Not only was the biggest change, I think it was the biggest mistake they made, too.
Hey, you're on tape.
That's all right.
Hey, in 1965, 7 out of 10 Catholics went to church. You know how many go to church today? We're lucky if we get 3 out of 10. I'm not saying the English Mass did it all, but it took something away. At least to me, it did.
How
Now
about you?
Father Kelly's really good.
No. This is your opinion. How about you, Jean?
I miss the nuns. Not that we don't have good teachers, but there was something about the nuns, and when they taught you, you learned. When I went to public high school, because I had no other choice, the whole system of teaching was different. I wasn't an A student anymore. That was one of the changes. Us. I think real hard. I liked the idea where you went 2 by 2. When you walked in front of a priest or a nun, you bowed your head. Excuse me, Father. Pardon me, Sister. And there's something missing, and I guess it has the times have a lot to do with it.
I'll go back to when I went to school here. The priest was Father Muldoon. He was the one that got a school bus. And I believe it was in the 1945-46 year. I was in 7th grade then. But prior to that, I walked to school, which was not unusual. Or I got picked up by Mr. O'Bratz. This is my friend who lived down the bottom of the hill. I lived on Hilltown Pike between Lexington and Hilltown, where the school is, and it was not unusual to walk or even get picked up by a stranger who you trusted. But we now have a bus. So my husband, who moved up and spent the first year in the Fair Hill School District in a one-room schoolhouse, then was picked up and came here for 7th and 8th grade. Now, I didn't pay attention to him at the time, even though I married him, but he was the kid that carried this big lunch kettle for a little guy, because after all, girls grow taller than boys do at that age. And he had a nervous foot and sat behind me. And so it's just some silly little thing, but I don't remember too much other than being afraid of the nuns. That was life in those days at school.
Was it as
Well,
self-sustaining?
the biggest change, of course, is the growth. I am just amazed, even now, when you read in your church bulletin the number of new members every year. I mean, when I went to church in my younger days, walking to school, you knew everybody. There was only a few houses, and it's like it's hard to get to know everyone unless you belong to organizations. Like I belong to the Seniors Club or the Welcoming Committee, but that's only a little bit of the parish function. So you really do need to belong to a parish function to get to know even your neighbors. Tell her about one of the priests wasn't a very good bus driver. Was he trying to?
Well, that happened too.
What priest was that?
Father Morley.
Father Morley.
Yeah.
Is that when they first got the bus to?
Yeah, he tried to drive it, and the brakes, he hit the brake and it would stop. It wasn't well adjusted.
Oh.
So he gave up on the bus driving.
He gave you the job.
Well, sort of, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was sort of an older boy down there, and Catherine Reckner, I think that was her name. Catherine
Housekeeper.
Reckner. And she was the housekeeper for Father Dumby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, and it was a Tuesday morning. I got a phone call. So says, Harry, I got to do something. The Father Dumby was called up to the hospital for an emergency, and I was burning the palm. Well, the wind come along and blew it. Oh, no, wait. No, I'm wrong. It was a Saturday morning she was doing it for Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I says, okay, I'll be right down. And we tried to salvage everything we could. Look, I got a better idea. See, the old custom in those days were, if you got the palm, you put it up in your attic and ward off evil spirits and lightning and all that. So anyway, I come home, stripped everything down, and I did it out here on my fireplace. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe it's 40-some years. Well, that's what Mary Ann said. I believe her.
You've been doing it for 47 years.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Just a long time. Mm-hmm. And anyway, well, the ashes, got all the ashes that I could. And maybe, I don't know, I guess I got a little bit of other ashes, too. But everybody was anointed.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so I've been doing it ever since. In fact, I just took the Frank Eckert and he's going to start doing it. Mm-hmm. And because I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I do it in my wheelbarrow. So it must be a holy wheelbarrow. I don't think lightning will ever strike it. The one memory I have of Father Dumby. Well, being I was in the later years, he'd say, write down how many communions. I mean, this was daily mass. But then when a holy day come up, how many did we have last? So I had a calendar in there, and I used to mark it down. I used to count them.
Oh, okay.
So, but on holy days, usually there was about 85, 90 people went to communion. Well, I always stuck about 25 hosts in my pocket. And then while he was preaching, how many do you think going to be? Well, I counted how many are here, and there's about 100. And he says, well, I think how many did you put in the cup, in the chalice? I said, well, I think I have 50. He said, you better give me some more. So I reached in my pocket while right? And then, but those are the little secrets that.
Well, now they're not
Lesson.
secrets anymore. Now they're on film. This is history.
Well, anyway, I was done serving Mass with Father McBride. Put the child's way, turn the candles out and all that stuff. He says, hey, Harris, says, will you set up a Christmas tree for me out on the rectory's patio on the back side towards the cemetery? Well, anyway, I said, well, I need some string. Oh, all the string and different twines and the lighting equipment is over in the church. That alarm is turned off. And all that. Oh, get in the Volkswagen. Over I go. Park in the front. Look funny. I mean, I had the key, so I turned the key in. All smoke all over.
Wow.
So I thought, holy mackerel. So, well, anyway, I went and I opened up the other door. Oh, no, too much for me. So I put my hat over my... I was going to go up and try and get the Blessed Sacrament out.
Oh, okay.
But couldn't do it.
No.
It burned my eyes. It burned. I could feel that. How that went. Just at that time, Mother Superior left the kids out for, what do you call it? Recess. So I just send them back in and call the fire company. Why? I think we have a fire. Call the fire company. I'll take full responsibility. Because now they're a little bit. I don't want to call the fire company. They're scared and they want to be. So she did. Well, Father Dumby, he come over. Father McBride was up at the. I think he was at the hospital too. And here it was right before Christmas. And they had the Advent candles, and somebody didn't turn them out.
Right.
Didn't blow them out.
Right.
So then, and that just kept on going down. Well, it was right before Christmas. I think it was only 5 days.
Right. It was. Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And anyway, we. How the heck? Well, anyway. Fire company come, and they had fire companies from all over the place because of the school and the church. They didn't know. So that quick response, and then I remember Father Dumby. It was cold, and he's there with no hat, so I gave him my hat, eagle hat. He looked around. He said, "Ah." So anyway, we got the fire out, but I didn't get the tree up.
No, that's right.
I joined my husband and 4 children and I joined the parish in April of 1976, which was the year of the bicentennial. And we built a house right up the road on Route 152. And we've been a member of the parish. The whole 4 children went to school here. And we've been through a lot of transitions. And I'm glad to see where the parish is today because it's thriving and it's wonderful and a lot of involved people. And we started a lot of different programs to help the children be involved in the parish life. So it's been a good ride, it really has. I'd say all of them. I might forget, but the preschool, that's a little preschool program. It's in the 9:30 Mass. That's not the one that's held at Mass, but here in the school. And the CYO, along with 8 other women, and my husband and a couple of men who were coaches, and that we did that for 15 years. And I've been involved in, I guess, a lot of things. I'm an involved person. I'm on the pastoral council right at the present, and that's quite an honor. And that's the point, that it's important that what you start, and remember, it wasn't just me. There's a lot of people involved here. That it would go on, and the CYO has thrived, and we have intramural, which was never a dream of ours because we didn't think it was possible. But the school has grown, and the atmosphere, and the love and concern for all the people here. So that's what makes it a thriving school and a thriving parish, and it's wonderful. the building of this building that we're sitting in right now, the cafeteria and the gym. We longed for this for years. We had to go to the public school to get space to play games and do practices. But the church, I've been through 3 revisions of the church, and they've all been, steps forward and accommodations for more and more people. The growth of the parish. I think the spirit of the parish, excuse me, has always been here. Way back when the ladies that were in the other video, some of the older citizens that used to have potluck dinners. I mean, we've grown from that to a catered thing here in the parish. Here, so it's been wonderful. It has been. Obviously, we're doing the Lord's work. That's the most important thing. Biggest change in the Catholic Church. Second Vatican Council. Because it put the responsibility of saving your own soul on you and not the church. And that's my version. And I think that's a good thing, because the more you strive to do the job yourself with the help of the Lord, I think the better you get and you do a better job. I think it's a good thing, very good thing. I kind of was struck through this whole process of the people we take for granted in this parish, the people that I call the unsung heroes. Like the people that open the doors and put the lights on and clean the place, and clean the church. Every week there's women that clean the church. There's people that make food and take it to people that are shut in. So we're taking care of people who are not active anymore. And there's just a million things that go on here. Just sweeping of the leaves and mowing the grass, and it just goes on and on. All the committees, all the activities that support the liturgy, that support the parish, that support the school. So all those people are part, an intricate part of our parish, and I think they should be mentioned, let's say. So for the next anniversary, you can build on that. And I think it's a good idea to take a moment and just pause and think of all the people that do the things you don't see. Thanks very much.
14 years ago, we moved here from New Jersey, and while we were building our house, we were renting in Dublin, and we went to the church, Sacred Heart, and then when we moved to our new house, it was in the Mount Carmel district, and Father McBride said, really, you belong in the Mount Carmel parish, and we asked him. We liked it so much here that we asked him if we could stay here, and he said, okay. And then the highlight of our membership was when we renewed our vows in the year 2000, July the 1st. And
it was our 50th then.
Our 50th wedding anniversary. And
it was a big affair.
And Father McBride officiated at the ceremony, and Pat Seaver sang all the beautiful hymns that we had picked out.
And to see the new construction, the way they did it, it was a pretty good job that they had done, making the expansion the way they did it. They left the center there, and they built it all the way around it, and it gave them a nucleus to work with, you know what I mean? And just for the outside parts, it took, I guess, better part of a year, I think it was,
to lay all the stonework
done, So we could, other than that, we were here in the cafeteria, having a church over here. But it worked out very, very good. We're very happy with the church. There's no two ways about it.
The prayer garden is really beautiful.
Put in the garden, but it's very, very nice.
Yes, we love it.
Yeah.
And everyone in the rectory, Mary Ann and Katie.
Yeah, very helpful, very helpful.
They always very helpful, with everyone.
I was trying to remember how long I've been here, and I think it's between 3 and 5 years ago when I started coming here. I'm pretty sure it's maybe about 5 when I began. And I began part-time, just to help fill in for Father Kelly. He had the 2 Augustinian priests coming here, and they were on a meeting or something, and he called and asked me to come, and I showed up and haven't really left for very long. The the numbers are changing, it's getting bigger, but I think that the real core value of the parish is very much there, and it seems to be growing. That real sense that this is a community of faith, and we are in this together. It's something that struck me the first time I came here, and it's getting stronger. And I'm very, always been very impressed with it. Very impressed with the quality of the faith life and the quality of the worship that we celebrate here. Since I travel almost an hour every day to get here, I would say one of the things it taught me is timing and perseverance. It's also taught me that God can move in many ways, and I see the variety of the community here, and yet there's a commonality in that we are all striving to serve God better and serve our families and serve our life as best as possible to God, to offer it to God. And it's a wonderful experience. It's almost like people come here and they are struck by a real presence, and it's a wonderful thing. It's an interesting. I am a historian, and so it is an interesting phenomenon how the pendulum swings back and forth from the pre-Vatican II experience to the Vatican II experience, a very liberal sense of church, to I think a more moderate sense of church today, more of a demand for real faith and real accuracy of faith. What do we believe? And I think that's the basis of the call. What do we really believe about the Eucharist? What do we really believe about the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ? And to hold us more accountable to our faith. And it's a challenging thing, but it's also interesting how that's growing. And also the fact that the laity really have a freedom now to express their faith life within certain confines as they choose. You see it here where some people receive in the hand and some people receive in the tongue and some people kneel, and they're all expressing a deep faith, and there's that freedom there what wouldn't have been there 30 years ago. Everybody had to do the same. But now it's more like, as long as it's respectful and holy, it's part of who we are. We express our image of God, which is really what we're supposed to be doing, and our idea of who God is and our position in the face of God. So it's a wonderful thing, and I think that comes from being very, very clear about what we believe and how we believe, and our identity as people of faith in the Roman Catholic Church.
A little surprised. It was not where I expected to be assigned for residence, considering my primary assignment. But once I learned it, it was a question of a little bit of excitement. Since I had known Father Kelly, he had been dean at the seminary during some of my time at the seminary. And I knew the area a little bit, and I realized, especially also with the new school, eventually being a half mile away, I thought, this could be very good. So that was kind of the process going through before I reported in and said, hi, what's going on? First came here for some of the first masses that I celebrated. This choir has been so good for so long that I'd asked them to sing at my first mass. Priscilla Singer, I've known since I was a kid. So there's that connection there. I realized that one of my parents' cousins, who I, again, seen when I was a kid, but hadn't seen recently, shows up and says, hi! And I says, yes, I do remember you. So there's people here that know my parents, people here that know me. So it is interesting coming home. It's very different serving where people know you even before you were ordained. So it's a very different dynamic here, but it's fun. I have to say it's fun. Like any place that I've learned, you will find great people. and I've certainly found that here. As in, I guess, a sense, growth. I was raised, started grade school in the early 70s, so we're talking 10 years or so after the beginning of the Vatican Council. So I was beginning my Catholic education and formation, really, at a time when people are still trying to figure out what's going on. And I remember being taught later, it takes decades to really understand what a council is going to do, because that was a major paradigm shift in the life of our church. And some people loved it so much they went a little too far one way, and some people hated it so much they went a little too far. I think they pulled back and didn't want to do anything. But I think what I've seen over the years is a I won't say even a struggle, but a reaching out for a balance of recognizing a lot of good came from that council, and some stuff that was, maybe we do have to watch ourselves a little bit. Is this the best way to share the faith? Is this the best way to express and live the faith? So I guess what I see is really a reaching out for a balance, the picking of the best of what's been our tradition for centuries, and for what, guided by the Spirit, we can, in our present generation, offer to prayer life, to evangelization, to information, to formation, to what we can offer in the life of the church. I think this generation has a different way maybe of expressing their faith. I think some of the fundamental questions of our faith, and the faith as it intersects or as it interacts with me, my personal experience of faith, those I think tend to be pretty universal. I think they kind of pass on from generation to generation. How they're expressed and the expressions of the answer, I think, is what changes from generation to generation. Whether it's 1 or 2 generations ago, the stress was on devotional life, and today maybe the stress is a little bit different. The Eucharist, in a sense, has come back for when my generation didn't have that Eucharist-centered stuff as much. That's starting to actually come back. It is interesting. You live long enough and you realize things do start coming around.
Mass in Latin, but I guess for me personally, biggest change for me maybe the diaconate coming back into the church. Vatican II reinstituted that back in the late 60s, early 70s. And I had, really no idea that I would be standing here today as a deacon in the Catholic Church. And so I guess that's been a big change. And that call to service somehow came to my ears, and here I am. So I think one of the most joyful things that a deacon gets to do is to baptize. And the baptisms, every one of them, are very special, because you really get to see these beautiful gifts of life that people have brought into the world and that they love and that they care about. And it really reminds us all of the love that Jesus has for each one of us. And the baptisms are just a ton of fun. The other special things I get to do is I do get to visit people who are at home or sick or in need of visits. They can't come to church, and to be able to bring them communion, to pray with them, and to do what we can to help them through their difficult times is really a beautiful thing.
When I was being transferred from St. Jude up here, it was between here and MMR. Okay, I wasn't sure which parish I was going to go to, and they told me to come up here and just get the lay of the land type of thing. And it was a Saturday night mass. The choir was singing. Father Kelly had the mass, and as soon as I came in and sat down, nobody knew who I was, and I just knew that this was the place where Jesus wants me. And the music was beautiful. I didn't know who Father Kelly was. He gave a great homily. So make sure he sees this, okay? He gave a great homily. And I went back downtown and said, if you want me to Sacred Heart, I think that would be a good fit, because there's only one priest up here. At Jude, there was 3 priests and 3 deacons, so they were stocked pretty well. But up here, there was really empty. One of the things that really stick out in my mind would be the Holy Week up here. I really didn't know what to expect, and they did it so well the Holy Thursday, the procession over to the chapel with the luminaries and having Father Van Dyke, who's no longer with us here, on Good Friday. His Good Friday services knocked my socks off. And then the Easter Vigil, and that first Easter here was one of the most memorable Easters I ever had in my life. In my lifetime, well, from the Latin to the vernacular, okay, from the priests turning the order around, and actually feeling a part of the Mass, more of a part of the Mass. Not that I disliked it the way it was before, because there was a mystery there that was kind of a little drawing in. But I guess, as personally for me, was the restoration of the permanent diaconate that gave me an opportunity to fulfill my ministry in this church. Baptisms, because I love babies, okay? Baptism, and the absolute privilege to be able to preach, to share. I don't like the word preach, okay? To share my spirituality with my family, the people here at Our Lady's Sacred Heart. That gives me my greatest joy. The two of them together, baptizing babies, bringing them into the church, and be able to preach, share, and also teach with RCIA and CCD, okay? Just to share what God has given me, so maybe help somebody. But in doing that, it helps me, because I firmly believe that being a deacon is my way of working out my salvation here on earth.